a singer, songwriter, voiceover artist, music publisher, and producer, and now the host of the Second Chance Show. It's Detroit's own gospel artist and your host. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the one and only talented and gifted Brother Mike.
Welcome to the Brother Mike's Second Chance Show. First of all, I'd like to give honor to God. Without him, none of this could be made possible. He is the God of a second chance, and I'm just honored today. I know our city, we're kind of in mourning, but I'm in a celebratory mood. I'm going to celebrate the life of this show of our dear queen of soul, Miss Aretha Franklin, who went home to be with the Lord last Thursday, August 16th. And we have a great special show lined up. I pulled some great guests, some of Detroit's finest. I have some legendary people. I'm in the company of Paul Reiser. I'm in the company of Michael Powell. I'm in the company of Michael Grace. And I am high on top of the world, but it's a praise high. And to you, my viewers, you're in for a treat. So don't touch that dial. You're in for a treat today. I'd like for you guys to help me welcome some of the finest people in the entertainment industry of the century. Brother Paul Reiser, how are you, sir?
Thank you. Glad to be here. So glad. And all grace to God, all thanks. Yes.
Thank you for that. And Brother Michael Powell, legendary Michael Powell, is in the house on my show. I'm crazy. I'm crazy right about now. Welcome to the Brother Mike Show.
I'm glad to be here.
And Brother Michael Grace is here. Yeah. Welcome to the Brother Mike Show.
Thank you, Brother Mike, for having us.
We're going to dig right in. I don't want to waste any time. I didn't do my normal opening monologue, standing up and all that. We're going to dedicate this entire show to the Queen of Soul. And between the four of us, we're going to share a little bit of insight with some people that were really close to her, starting with Michael Grace. He's the king over here. He's running the ship.
All right.
So can you tell us a little bit about your experiences with the Queen, and when did it first come about?
Well, it's a long story.
We got time. We got time.
I was a single man at Motown, age of 22, and I happened to be on a lunch break, right? And so I'm going down the Boulevard West, and I make a right turn at Linwood. And what do? I almost run over my future wife, okay? She's crossing the street, okay? But when I say that, she lived on Lothrop between Linwood and LaSalle, and the Franklin house was right there at LaSalle and Lothrop, the big yellow brick house. So I got to know the Franklin family pretty much then. I wasn't working with Aretha at that time because I was a Motown contracted person, 3 contracts at that time. So, after I left Motown, I got associated with Aretha through my wife and Brenda Franklin, her friend, her lifelong friend. So from that point, I met Aretha, and we wanted to work together. We had mutual respect for one another over the years, of course, through the music. So we finally got a chance to hook up, I'll say. And boy, it was a real pleasure working with her. She's like one of a kind, iconic, just a genius.
Wow.
In their music,
Yes, she was.
She would sit at that piano and just like magic when she started playing. And that soft voice, talking, you'd have barely hear, but then when she got to singing, she opened that mouth, boy, I tell you, she'd light up the room. So I always had a lot of respect for her. And of course, when she was at Atlantic Records, I really wasn't an R&B fan.
Really?
I was not. No,
oh, wow. Why?
Not at all. Well, I was mostly classically trained.
Oh, okay. Wow. I didn't know
and
that.
Jazz and whatnot. I thought R&B was just scourge, But until I got associated with Motown, That was before I got associated with Motown. But when I got at Motown, I realized that there was a real chemistry and a real work to getting this music together. See, because I came in as a trombonist. You see, but getting back to Aretha, she and I worked together, and her genius really is something to behold. But I tell you, something happened very uniquely though. I was in New York. She sent me to New York. She was back here. She produced a song by phone. Okay,
Oh,
I'm in New
really?
York because she doesn't fly.
Do you? No, she didn't fly.
She doesn't fly.
Do you
So
remember the name of the song?
I think it was something like Brother, something about a brother. I can't remember the exact title, but it was something. It's a message song. Okay.
Which all of her
And,
songs were message
yes,
songs.
yes,
Love songs, messages that she sung about
Uh-huh.
love. Brother Michael Powell, legendary.
Yes.
Very, very legendary producer, arranger, musician.
Yes.
Just gifts from God. I'm just surrounded right now by
Yes.
some anointed men I know God placed here. What can you tell us about you working with Aretha very closely on some of her greatest music?
Well, the thing that I learned about Aretha working with her is everything had to be quality.
Everything.
That was the main thing with her. And if you were another producer, she would go in the studio and she wouldn't go in without me. I was like quality control for her for a long time.
So what studios did you guys work out?
Well, we worked out of Vanguard, which was my studio at the time
okay.
over in Oak Park, when she did A Rose is Still a Rose.
One of my
With-
favorites.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a funny story about that is that Aretha was in the studio for a long time. They were in the studio for a while. And so when the session was over, I said, Aretha, why were you in the studio so long with Lauryn Hill? She said, Michael, Lauren is a black woman trying to get started, and I wanted to give her everything that I had.
Wow, that was amazing.
Because
that's how thoughtful she was.
Oh, absolutely.
Of the
Because
other
I know
entertainers.
that Aretha was sing down the track one or two times, and that was it. She was gone. She was going
One
home. She was
track.
putting on her coat.
One track person.
That was it.
That was amazing. That's a gift from God.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the good Lord, we have a clip of her singing Precious Lord, and it's so touching. I felt it Sunday afternoon. I know a lot of you probably are winding down from church, probably sitting in front of the TV watching us eat some chicken. Keep it a little bit for us. We just might stop by and get us some. Got a wonderful studio audience here. I'm going to ask the engineers if they would be so kind to show us a little bit of clip of Aretha. Wow, what an interpretation of Precious Lord. What a great, great show this is. A tribute to the Queen of Soul, Detroit's own legendary Aretha Franklin. I'm sitting here with some of her greatest allies and some of the composers and arrangers and legendary management that worked with her throughout her wonderful, wonderful career. And right now we're going to take the cameras over to Brother Michael Grace. He's going to share some love stories about her, about the Queen of Soul. What do you have? Welcome to the show, first of all, and thank you for being here, Michael. Thank you very much. I don't take this for granted. I feel very honored that you took your time out to be here with us today. Would you like to share with us?
Well, I first met Aretha during Coleman Young's first run for mayor. And that was my first encounter with her. And after that, I met her again on his second run for mayor. It was a while between, I guess, about 8-9 years before I saw her again. She came into the studio being produced by Narada Michael Walden.
Yes, I remember him.
And then later on, because I think she worked in my studio about on 5 or 6 projects. She then came in with Luther Vandross.
Did she?
And he produced.
He just name dropping all over the place.
And then he came back again with Luther Vandross and Marcus Miller.
Wow, what song was she working on?
You know, did Pink Cadillac and something else. That was one he did. But it was another one she did.
that.
Mike Narden Walden did Pink Cadillac, and then she did another song for the next album. She did actually. So I think she did 5. She worked in my studio 5 or 6 times.
So how was it actually working in studio with Miss Franklin? I've heard stories, but I like to get it firsthand from some of the people I know were right there.
Well, when she come in, she would not speak to you. She would wave because she saves her voice. She tell you, my voice is for singing. It's not for speaking.
Wow, really? I'm gonna have to use that.
And she wouldn't speak to you till after she's finished singing.
Mm.
Right. So she'd go in and do a session. Then she would talk to you, hug you, and everything. She wouldn't even take time to hug you because she maybe want to get a smell that interfere with her voice.
Yeah.
Some perfume or something.
Right. Exactly.
And did she have that purse with her?
Yeah,
Always had the
Yeah,
purse.
yeah.
And she'd have most of the time it'd be Carolyn Irma, one of her sisters with her, and definitely Cecil Brother. He was managing her.
Yes.
And so he'd come in, and they get the rope. Sometimes, most of the time, but she's always was in control, no matter who was there.
That's right.
She stayed in control.
Wow.
Even in the studio, she
Yes,
said,
yeah.
"I'm not punching in, especially
Yes.
today. I'm just singing it. We're gonna sing it 2 or 3 times, and that's it. I'm leaving."
Wow.
Now,
And she
Mike
would
mentioned about Coleman Young's re-election song. Okay, now we had to get her out of the bed to come to do that song. But when
Really?
she got there, she made the difference. There was numerous artists, spinners, four tops, and whatnot. It didn't really take life until she came. You know, we had to literally get her out of the bed to come.
I've heard stories like that about the Queen of Soul being called on at the last minute.
Yes.
We have a famous clip of her turning point in her musical career when she stood in for Pavarotti. We'll play that in a bit. But I'd just like to dig a little bit deeper into her personal the way she kind of, maybe this will help some other entertainers, up-and-coming people. What were some of the things you remember that really stood out about Aretha that possibly could help new up-and-coming entertainers?
Well, she's always encouraging in her own quiet ways, quiet strength, I call it, And I tell you, do not correct Aretha. Certain people, she will not allow you to correct her. I tried to correct her one time. She told me,
you?
"Oh yes, and what for?" She said,
I mean,
"Paul
about a
Reiser."
note or a song? Or...
About a song. She was warming up, and she sounded like an amateur singer, right? So I says, "Aretha," she goes, so. She says, "Paul Reiser, this is not amateur hour." Okay.
Did she? That's
But we had a good laugh about it, because we have a loving relationship. But I shut up.
I guess so.
And when she opened her mouth, well, it was like magic. Okay.
Wow.
I'm telling you, like magic. That was the Heartbeat of America Chevrolet commercial we did.
Wow. Michael Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Powell. I'm so honored that you're here. Let me personally thank you also, man, for taking out your time. God has overseen some challenges in your life, and that we only knew that it had to be God.
Absolutely.
And I can say that because I've been there. And he's healed my body. And I must say, you're looking wonderful
I'm
right
feeling
about
wonderful.
now. Wonderful right about now. You
Yes.
made your way here, and that lets everybody know what the Queen meant to you. What was it actually like when you first time you ever heard her in the studio? What went through your mind?
The first thing that went through my mind is the word legend did come to mind.
And she was young at that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
But she was a legend for a long time.
And she held it well.
You know what I'm saying? And it was funny what Paul was saying, her coming into the studio. She would come to the studio, and I remember her putting her hand in the room like this. To see
the temperature. Oh, yeah.
Because if it wasn't right, she'd turn around
Wow.
and go back to the car
Yeah.
and tell you, say, it's too cold in there. I can't sing in there.
Yes. Yes.
So she would go back in the car and wait, order her some Chinese food or something.
Yes.
And come back in and blow the roof off the sucker.
Yeah.
I know
Oh,
everybody
God.
probably wants to know, what was it with her about the cold weather? Did it bother her voice? or
Absolutely.
vocals?
Absolutely. She felt like the weather was close in her throat.
Okay.
You know.
Because there was a quick story real fast at Carnegie Hall. She walked out at Carnegie Hall at one time. It made the national news because it had the air on. And
Yes.
she, you know, she used some choice words and said, "I told y'all no air."
Yes.
And
Right.
there's chasing behind her, Miss Franklin, Miss Franklin, we'll
Right.
get heaters in here. We'll
yes,
get heaters.
yes,
She did
yes.
not play, but
Yes, that's
perfection
right.
she was.
Yes,
Yes.
she was.
Perfection she was.
In fact, can I relate one more story?
Yes, of course.
Johnny Trudell's band. I'm quite sure everybody knows Johnny Trudell, one of my old schoolmates, and known him such a long time, 60 years at least. But Johnny Trudell was appearing out at the State Fair with Aretha. He was the band accompanying her, and they weren't playing her music right. She stopped in the middle of a song
Wow.
and says, this is not right, and stopped the band. Told them if you can't play it right, don't play it at all.
And I know she would say, "I'll play myself."
Yes.
In a
It
minute,
could play.
I've heard her. I think
Yes.
I was at the State Fair
Yes.
when the Detroit Symphony Orchestra wasn't playing them horns right.
Yes.
And at that time, she stopped everything. I'm like,
Yes.
"What is this woman?"
Yes,
And she
perfectionist.
said, "Oh no, they deserve the best." And she said, "Y'all ain't playing that means y'all ain't listening to my music." And she said, "That's okay. Y'all stay. They can go." You remember that? And they asked for an
Yes.
apology, and she refused to do it. That
was
was
the-
our queen.
She was the most honest person I ever known. Okay, you saw what you got.
What you see is
what
what
you
you
see is
get.
what you get. You know, and it was just from my heart all the time. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You knew exactly what you got. See,
I remember a
most
time
honest person.
being in the studio with Aretha, and she was singing, and I said, "Aretha, can we do that one more time? It's just a little bit flat." She said, "Michael, what you talking about? That no wasn't flat." I said, "Okay." I wasn't gonna challenge her.
Right,
Didn't
right,
challenge
right.
Michael
but
Powell.
before we would leave the studio, she said, "You know that thing that you was talking about earlier, that one note? Let's do that note."
Wow,
And we would do the note.
that's
But
amazing.
you
You know.
controlled it.
Though
That's
that
the
has
thing. She
had to-
That
controlled.
was the thing.
Yeah.
She
That
was in
had to be
control.
some of your most precious memories of this
Yes.
great
Another
lady.
thing I learned by working with Aretha, the first session I worked with her on, I told the guy, the engineer, the assistant, to go out there and put a pop screen out there in case she popped right. She said, "You must not know who I am."
Wow.
I don't need that. I know how to turn my head when I pop these peas.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
She'd let you know. See.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
What some great stories. You all can treasure these if I have. My ears are just grateful right now. All this on the Brother Mike show. This you can only get this here. You know, I feel like I know anything you ask God and then ask it in his name, he will bless you with just that. And I wanted something very special to honor Aretha Franklin. I too sang for her, and I bought some of my things she gave me the first time. She gave me a gift card that I never cashed, and the second time I sang for her, I got this. It was a Christmas party of hers, and she gave me this beautiful centerpiece that I dare anybody at home to touch. And so I said, I'm going to bring some of my collectibles that's very near and dear to my heart. And so don't laugh, y'all. That's a Christmas ornament, but I think it was very befitting to be a part of the Brother Mike show, this segment. And we're coming back, and we're going to get a little more sensitive. On a very close friend part. Brother Greg Dunmore is in the house from postbeat.tv. And also Pastor Mike Jemison is here, two of her closest, nearest, and dear friends. I'd like for the engineers to get ready the clip that we did, the second clip, while we take a break and gather ourselves. We're here, a tribute to the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin. Franklin. That clip I probably have watched. I don't even know if I can count the times. I think that was one of the greatest performances of an entertainer standing flat foot with an orchestra and background singers that I have ever seen. But right now, I have to give a special shout out to my sponsors that's called, and they all want to be a part of this great show, and I speak none other than the Inner Court Sound Studios. Inner Court raises the bar for quality, protection, and promotion of today's most talented artists. They take pride with recording artists and the most professional quality sound recording that you can ever ask for. Very affordable. Today's communitive music industry, it's imperative to have a team of experienced professionals with today's modern techniques and the latest state-of-the-art equipment and software. They're located at 21455 Hilltop Drive, Building 20, Southfield, Michigan 48033. Call and schedule a free consultation by appointment only. Of course, ask for Greg Pearson. He's the president, producer, and chief engineer. Mention Brother Mike, and you might get special treatment. And once again, the numbers are 248-915-8223 or 313-570-4666. That's Inner Court Studios. Greg produced my project, so he's one of the greatest in the city. So visit Southfield. He's right here in the city. He's a black-owned business, and he's a very generous and great man. And so do us a favor and mention the Brother Mike show, and he'll show you special privileges. Thank you for watching this segment. I'm going back to our tribute to the Queen of Soul. We are so honored and so graciously God has smiled on the Brother Mike show today, and I know that it's all him. I was nervous at first, but I prayed, Lord, I have to carry out your duties, and we have to give her her just due while we can. And so she meant so much to Detroit. But I have two young men here who knew her in a way that they can only bring it themselves, and I speak none other than Greg Dunmore from PostBeat.tv and Pastor Mike Jameson, and also a special friend of mine, Carol Warriors here. Thank you all so much.
It's good to be here. It's an honor to be here.
Who do we go to first? Greg will make me cry because he got a story that I know I'm going to cry. I'm going to honor Pastor Jameson.
Well, first of all, I give God the honor and the glory. It's a blessing to be among friends with Paul Reiser, legendary, and Michael Powell and Michael Grace. It's just a blessing to see these brothers again. But when it comes to Aretha, I think outside of her family, I talk to her and text her more than anybody on this earth this past year. And it hurt me for the near fact that we was working on a project she wanted me to sing on, her last recording album. And Aretha have always looked out for me.
Yes.
And she said, Mike, now we're going to sing Beams of Heaven. And so we got the keys together, and I supposed to been getting the contract and signing the contract and working with the band. And she said, you know what, Mike, I want you to do not one song, I want you to do 2 or 3, and if you got a sermon, I want to put your sermon on my CD, and I'm going to put all your information on back of the CD. We talked sometime at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Sometimes I say, Aretha, well, I got to get off the phone. I got to go. I'm getting tired. But I just thank God for having a relationship with Aretha because I go way back.
Tell us.
I go back
Give us the
age
beginning.
of 7 years old. I met
fun.
Aretha. I was singing with the Jemisonettes, and Jasper Williams, who's doing a eulogy, was preaching. He was 13, and Aretha was 14. And we was at the Father Church where we all sung, and he preached. Now, 20 years later, I meet Aretha for the first time, face to face, being an adult.
Wow.
And she flown in from New York, and she brought her lawyers in, and I was getting ready to sign a contract called Do It back in the days. That was the name of the label that she had. I worked with Aretha so much. I traveled with Aretha. We did so much. I remember one time during the Katrina victim, they had a dinner for them at one of the hotels that she was giving, because Aretha always liked to help people. Now, I'm not like you, how Aretha gave you a money order. She paid me cash.
I know that's right.
She paid me cash. But, when I think about what she did for the victims, what she trusted in my hand. We was there. We had the news press there that day, and I sung, she sung, and her son Eddie sung. And, we gave a press release, and she said, now that was that day, and we were supposed to do the same thing the next following day. Well, Aretha said, well, Mike, I won't be there the next following day. And you don't say, well, I can't do that. When Aretha asks you to do something, you're going to do it. And she do it in a soft voice.
Wow.
In a soft voice.
Spoken.
I was listening to when Paul Reiser was talking about how, when you sit down and you hear Aretha sing. I had the chance to be at her home just on one occasion where she got down at the piano. You haven't heard Aretha sing until you hear her sing live in her house.
Really?
Now, you can hear her sing, doing a concert at church. That's good. Can nobody else sing Aretha to me? But when you hear her sing at her house on her piano, it's like an angel. I'm telling you, it's just like an angel. That's how sweet and how gifted God had blessed her with that voice that she had. But I felt kind of bad because of the fact I came in from Atlanta, Georgia, because they told me she had gotten real sick, and I was going to go see her Wednesday, because she told me where she had moved in, here in the city of Detroit, because she had left West Bloomfield and came back to the city. And I knew where she was living. I wouldn't tell nobody because Aretha is a very private person.
Right.
And so I got back from Atlanta that Tuesday, so I decided to go Wednesday. But I put it off because it was raining real bad, and I said I'm going to put it off because I seen her, went to the hospital, and I seen her, and I prayed with her. I held her hands, and Aretha know I'm going to kiss her. I don't care where I'm at. I'm going to kiss Aretha.
Right.
And, people be saying, man, no, I'm going to kiss her because she's my sister.
Yeah.
And she looked at me as her brother. She texted me one time and told me that the spirit of C.L. Franklin, my father, and my brother Cecil is in you, Mike. Wow. And he passed on the banner to you. And so that's a great honor to hear, put me in that category as her father and her brother spirit being within me. And so it's so much. I can go on and on. It would have to be 3 or 4 different shows for me to talk all about it, all the things I did with Aretha throughout my life. And it's just a blessing just to know her and to know all of the family, from Cecil to Irma to Carolyn, because Carolyn Franklin was my best friend.
Yeah, I remember.
And
you
then
telling
Pastor
me that.
Franklin, I remember the last time I seen Pastor Franklin, I was on my way going to the Black Music Awards, and Pastor Franklin looked up and he said, Mike, you going to sing for me tonight?
Mm-hmm.
That's
You
what he
sound
talked.
just like you, too.
I said, yes, Pastor Franklin, if you want me to sing, I'm going to sing for you tonight. But whenever you came into their presence, and I'm about to close this out. I remember when Aretha came up from New York and we met over to Pastor Franklin's house. Can you imagine a young guy at 21 years old in the room with Pastor Franklin coming down and Aretha at the same time?
And that big
I was just blown away. I was blown away the very first time she called me from New York, and I'm telling everybody, Aretha Franklin's on the phone. She's on the phone. Be quiet, be quiet. Yes. And it's just a blessing. And it's one thing she taught me, because we was getting ready to do Beams of Heaven. And I went into a rehearsal with that. I sung it for you on the phone. I went into, this about 4 months ago, I went into, had a rehearsal with part of my band that I was going to have planned on it for me to help me get in order for the actual recording. And Aretha heard it. She said, Mike, you can sing it, but bring the key down. Bring it down. I want you to be able to hit those notes the way you want it, because that's how Aretha was.
Yeah.
Everything she done, man, she had. You talking about professionalism? She had that.
Would you have been nervous to sing with
man.
Aretha?
Oh no, but God didn't give me the spirit of fear.
Yeah, that's true.
And so when I sung with Aretha, man, I felt honored, more so than scared.
Yeah.
When I did Radio City, when I did BET, when I done Pine Knob and DTE and all these places with her, and all kind of churches and stuff we sung together, I never felt nervous because I felt at ease with Aretha. And
great
that's the reason why we had such a strong, me and Aretha had such a strong relationship to the point that I could have rolled on her bus to Chicago when she did Oprah Winfrey's show, but I decided to fly on to meet her in New York.
Wow.
And so that's how close I was to Aretha.
What great
because of the
stories.
fact.
What
Yeah.
great stories.
I got so much.
I'd
so
like
much
to
say.
just shift over to my brother and mentor.
Yes.
The one and only famed journalist, and he's been such a great blessing to Brother Mike, and since I've met this guy, man, and you also was her neighbor.
Yes, I was a neighbor, yeah. And I'm listening to people talk about Aretha, and I think that everyone feels that they knew her better than most.
And she made you feel like that.
Well, if she liked you, she did.
Yeah, that's it.
So it was I had a professional relationship and a personal relationship. As a journalist, I've had a chance to interview her. Probably I have the longest standing relationship as a journalist because we became friends, and she became friends with my mother as well. And my mother's a singer. Her name is Jo Thompson, and Aretha connected with my mom, and so I had that going on as well. And when I think of Aretha, I think of a woman who wanted people just to look at her like she would say the girl next door, and I would often kid with her, the girl next door that's got 18 Grammys and PhDs, and you've got
honorary PhDs, doctorate degrees, 18 Grammys. She was inducted into the youngest to ever be inducted into the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, a history like none other, but
nobody else.
When I think in terms of the Aretha that I knew off stage, and I often think in terms of her as always a living legend, because you see that her spirit, her music, the way she inspires and influences, it shall never die. So you're talking about a living legend.
They lived next door to you.
Yeah, well, not next door, but we lived in the same building, and I think in my lifetime and the journey that we all travel, you never know who's going to touch you. So I mean, when I was very young and I was a fan of her music, I never thought that I would hear Aretha calling me by my name.
Wow.
And that becomes something that is spiritual, because you never know where life is going to take you and who's going to come into your life that's going to take you to a place you need to be. Now, Aretha, when I asked her for some advice, she said, always be yourself, because nobody can be a better you than you. And that is something that I really hold close to me, because sometimes when we get into that space where we're trying to impress and we're looking to be this one or that one, I reflect on what she told me, words of advice. Always be yourself, because nobody can be a better you than you. And I think that when you talk to Mike and all those guys that work with her professionally, they said that what you saw is what you got, because she understood that this is who I am. Her music was, this is who I am, and that touches you in a place that is God-centered. And Aretha knew her gift. She knew her gift. But I would say that just like anybody, when I tell people that we were friends and they're like in shock, and I think that as a human, everybody needs love and everybody needs friendship, right?
Yes.
And so she connected to you, Pastor. She connected to me and other people in that off-stage personality. When I talked to her, and we talked several times on the phone, and her famous texts, because she had a particular way that she used to text folk that those of you who have received an Aretha text, you know what I'm talking about. But I've been in her home. She cooked dinner for me. We've had a lot of interaction, but the one thing that I would say is that when I talk to Aretha, I never really talked to her so much about music, because even though she loved music, but she also loved to talk about books, and she loved entertaining, and we would often talk about how do you give a great party, and she had a formula in terms of bringing people together, and she had the resources to go over the top, but yet she really
thought it out.
Oh, she did, yeah. She called me and she said, I want you to come and join me so we can watch the elections.
Wow.
And so I sat next to
Barack Obama?
Yes, for Barack Obama.
Okay.
And it was interesting because when he won, she got that phone call saying, we're going to the White House, because she knew she was going to. Yeah, she got that.
With her?
Well, I got it when I was sitting next to her when she got the phone call right after he became the history-making first African-American president of this country. But I told Aretha, I says, well, Black America has a lot to be proud of. She says all of America does, because it took a whole lot of other folk, too, to put that man in office.
Yes.
Aretha was pro-black, but she was not anti-anybody else, you see.
Right.
I remember when she told me, she said, I am blessed, and I know the importance of the human spirit, and she knew that her fans, they were international, so she didn't have a sense of, I like this one better than that one. She was definitely pro-black because she was proud of the culture that we come from. I remember going to parties where she would serve caviar on a silver platter, but she would serve chitlins on a gold one.
Yeah.
She understood the importance of celebrating our culture.
Wow, man, it's just amazing, man. We are going to cut to a break, and we'll be right back with some more talk on our legendary history-making show. Speaking of none other than our beloved Queen of Soul. We'll be right back.
The Brother Mike Second Chance Show. This platform is designed to showcase and share the second chance that has been given to those who have been blessed to receive another chance at a journey in life that they thought would never come. This show is sure to bless you and to encourage you with not just the musical talents, but life testimonies of how one has made it over by the favor and grace of God. This show will feature local and national artistry, or download Roku on all media devices. For more information on the show, visit www.brothermike.com or email us at thesecondchanceshow@brothermike.com.
Cheryl Underwood got her own show, now you get yours. Have a business or talent you want to showcase? Have your own show simulcast on WHPR TV and radio, and on Comcast Cable and all of your favorite apps and devices.
But the best way to get it, you got to come through here to get it. Because I wouldn't be here if this wasn't the real deal Holyfield.
Come on,
you know,
come on.
Packages start at just $99. Call now. Download the WHPR TV app and catch the Cheryl Underwood show wherever you are.
Your word, your glory, your goodness, and your honor you gave me. No. Higher and higher, I'll be climbing.
Welcome back to the Brother Mike Second Chance Show. We're here in honor of one of the greatest singers to have ever sang the note, one of the greatest women of Detroit, legendary Aretha Franklin, a tribute in honor of our queen. We're going to go back to Pastor Mike Jameson, who was about to record actually with her. And I remember you held that secret. Wow, did you? And I had to hold a secret, so I can hold a secret too. Now you know that. But Pastor Jameson, what was that phone call like when she called you to do a song?
Well, you know, with Aretha, I just felt that we should have recorded a long time ago. Carolyn Franklin really wanted us to record because back in the days, you know, I thought that could nobody tell me I couldn't sing. I just felt like that. You know, you got to sometimes encourage yourself.
Yes, like David.
But I just want to share this with you. I had the opportunity to say my goodbyes to her.
That's amazing.
And the reason why I'm saying that, because when I went to the hospital to see her, because Aretha was very limited to who she wanted to come to the hospital. And I was one of the guests that I was able to come to the hospital, and we prayed together. Because Aretha was she loved her God.
Yes, God.
She was very religious, and you know, Aretha, I've been in shows where she get to preaching.
All the time.
She'll kick her shoes off, take her, you know, everything off, and just, you know, and start singing gospel. But, you know, I thank God I had my last goodbye the last part of February when I went to the hospital to visit her. And I went in and we held hands. And I prayed for Aretha. And as I prayed for Aretha, you know, I kissed her and I said, I love you, not knowing that was the last time I'm ever going to see her.
Wow.
But it was just a blessing. As my brother was saying, it's just a blessing just to be in her presence. And I just thank God for someone as Aretha Franklin, because if Aretha Franklin liked you, there's nothing she wouldn't do for you. I remember when I did something on BET, and Aretha wanted me to do 2 songs. And Devil Lee said, no, Aretha, he can't do 2 songs because everything, we have a slot, and all the slots are filled. And Aretha, you know, a lot of times Aretha get away and everything, but this particular time, I really didn't want to care about singing because you had some of the greatest singers doing, you know, was on the show at the time. And I just want to do the 1 song. But Aretha said, I want him to do 2. I said, okay, if Aretha wanted me to do 2, that's what I got to do. But she definitely was able to calm her down to the point that she said, okay, Mike, you just do the 1 song. But
and she would take over just like she would do, just like she would be in Aretha.
You know what? I want to say something, too, that there's something about her that really needs to be talked about as a mother. And I talked to Aretha about this. I said that what you've done in a world that has so many evil men, she has 4 boys. That's 4 Clarence, that would be Eddie, Teddy, and Kel. And these are 4 of the most humble, grounded guys, nice guys, and they could be snobbish because their mother and the sort of pedigree that they have. And I said, Aretha, you have gifted this planet with 4 nice men. So as a mother, and that is something that we know is precious, it is priceless. Let's remember Aretha Franklin as somebody that was a mother that gave the world 4 excellent guys, nice spirits, and the Franklins, all of them, humble people, and that needs to be always underscored because there's so many people that have this arrogance of I am better than you. Aretha never had that sense of I am better than you. She knew that her gift was special, but she also knew the importance of connecting with people based on the humanity that we all share.
And she got that from her father.
Yes, she did. Oh, yeah. She sure did.
Because if anybody could have been arrogant, could have been Reverend Pastor C.L. Franklin.
Right.
Wow.
But he didn't. That's one thing he disliked it about a person. Now, he could have been that way because to me, Pastor Franklin was one of the greatest preachers I ever heard preach.
And his famous sermon, The Eagle Stirs the Nest.
A lot of them.
Let's go to Brother Leroy from the Fantastic Four, right?
Thank you very much.
He is in the house. He was the first one here, and I think it would be only befitting. Kara Warrior, she got a little overwhelmed and she had to step away. Aretha's tend to have that effect on some of us. I've been crying myself all week. Give us a little bit of your insight and your history with the Queen.
Well, I never spoke to the Queen, but I love the Queen. And the Queen used to live down the street from me. I lived on Taylor between 14th and Woodrow Wilson.
North End.
Yeah, the North End. But I used to walk down to her father's house all the time, hoping that I can catch her going in so I could speak to her, you know. But 360, the Fantastic Four, the original Fantastic Four, they did a opening act for Aretha. And they sung "To Share Your Love with Me" by Bobby Blue Bland.
Okay.
So they recorded that, and they opened it up.
Do you remember what year that was?
That was in '67.
Oh, okay. You're taking us way
back. And Aretha was backstage, and she saw the fellas tearing that song up. And when they came off stage, she said, "Fellas," she said, "I'm going to steal that song from you. You know that, don't you?"
And I was told when she got your song, you never got it back.
That we never got
Once
it back.
she sang your song, you never got
coming
it
down
back.
the charts.
It became her song.
Wow, it became her song. Nobody wanted. Stevie Wonder said that not too long ago.
She had that way, you know,
Yeah.
of taking somebody's song
Wow.
and making it their own. But Luther Vandross is like that too. He come from that breed.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And you know, I found out later on in life the song "Creep Creep."
Yeah.
That's the only time she had ever sang background for an artist.
Is that?
That
right?
is her saying "creep, creep, creep" in that song. And I once you listen to it, you could tell it's the Queen of Soul.
Yeah.
And
She
that's
put
the
that touch
only
on it.
time that she, because I did a little research on background, that she ever do background for anybody. Luther Vandross was her boy. He got her to sing background on one of his songs.
She loved him.
She
For
did.
good reason. with
That
good
must
reason.
have meant she really, really thought a lot of him. Greg, take us into the last couple days the Queen was here on this earth with us?
Well, you know, I would see Aretha, and of course, she had lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing her with her mink coat on.
She kept that mink.
Her gym shoes, her sneakers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was 80 degrees.
Yeah, I was going to say, it could be hot out. It didn't matter.
And I remember looking at her, and I thought to myself that, you know, she lived in the same building that Rosa Parks also lived in that same building. There's something very spiritual about this city because two of the greatest women that this planet would know would be Aretha Franklin and Rosa Macaulay Parks, and they lived in that same building. And my memories of Aretha will always be consistent, and so therefore I think that once again, when I talked about the living legend, her music, her legacy, the way she touched all of us, it's going to always live on. So I have to think in terms of the way that Aretha thought that I'm going to always be here. So when God said, honey, you got to come home now, she knew that she couldn't tell anybody anything differently until God told her it is time for you to come home, and she is smiling from heaven above because she is listening right now. And can I say this real quick? That I see RJ. And RJ is probably the only owner of he's the only owner of a TV outlet that she was friends with. And so this is a spiritual place to do this salute. RJ Watkins.
Yes.
I want to congratulate all you guys and everyone who stopped by the studio today. Great show, Brother Michael.
Thank you.
And
Thank
to
you,
all your
sir.
great guests, thank you. And a show very, very powerful.
Very befitting. And let me personally thank my boss. I just simply called him and told him what I had planned to do, what the Lord had given me a vision to do. And he said, what do you need? And he was there. So we thank you.
And he got me working
well.
with
And I made him come to work.
And
special thanks to Greg Dunmore, host of the Postbeat.tv.
On this station.
On this station. Paul Reiser, Michael Powell,
Another
Michael
legend.
Jameson, Michael Grace, Carolyn Warrior in her absence, and Brother Leroy, who was first. We got a little food for you. We thank you, our TV viewers, for tuning in. Don't forget ever, I take it not lightly, without you, there would be no Brother Mike's Second Chance Show. You can tune in. You can catch us here second and fourth Sundays. We're here every second and fourth Sundays with brand new shows. We'll be going into our second season. Amen. And I still just want to say thank you to Detroit. All eyes will be on us this week. So handle your business, Detroit. Let's keep it tight. Thank you again. It's been a great time.
Brother Mike, Second Chance Show. This platform is designed to showcase and share the second chance that has been given to those who have been blessed to receive another chance at a journey in life that they thought would never come. This show is sure to bless you and to encourage you with not just the musical talents, but life testimonies of how one has made it over by the favor and grace of God. This show will feature local and national artistry, or download Roku on all media devices. For more information on the show, visit www.brothermike.com or email us at thesecondchanceshow@brothermike.com.